Really quick, I want to ask you, I just saw this on like Microsoft News a minute ago. Only What We Carry, Tarantino's most significant acting role in nearly 30 years, a French set drama by Jamie Adams where he plays a character named John Percy. So Tarantino's been cast in like a real movie in like a supporting role.
One of the worst actors I've ever seen. Genuinely one of the worst.
One of the worst actors, somehow one of the best directors. I'm trying to think in terms of movies that aren't his. I don't think he's had a like quote unquote serious acting role once, right? He was in that episode of CSI. I guess he was supposed to be taken seriously in that. His stuff in Sukiyaki Western Django, no way.
Yeah, no way, and also just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people who, that movie is like all Japanese people who are like trying to speak English phonetically sometimes, and he is the least intelligible out of all of them.
I think that's actually how I learned about the movie, is you texting basically that exact sentiment. He said, guys, I watched kind of a whatever movie, but it had the worst performance I've ever seen, and it was given by Quentin Tarantino. And you weren't lying.
Yeah.
I've now seen 100% of his footage in the movie. Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Awful. So Dogme. We're Dogme fans here at Your Older Brothers podcast. We've talked numerous times about our favorite Dogme film, Julian Donkey Boy. Well, I guess is that your favorite?
It's my favorite for sure. I haven't seen all of them.
Yeah.
And I still haven't seen The Celebration. And I know that's a lot of people's favorite. I'm sure it's fine. Just Julian hits me emotionally. That I'm sure The Celebration just won't. I'm sure it's a perfectly fine movie, but yeah, Julian hits the soul. I love that.
I am one of those people who prefers The Celebration. It is like pretty masterpiece style. You've seen Vinterberg's other movies.
I've seen several of his.
You've seen the two main ones, The Hunt and Another Round.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, and those are excellent. Celebration shares a lot in common with The Hunt in terms of the content and tone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very much like they're sister movies, but one of them is just filmed, like a Dogme movie. If you don't really know much about Dogme, we're going to break it down. Basically, like the Cliff Notes version of Dogme is that it's a set of rules invented by these two filmmakers, Lars von Trier and Thomas Vinterberg, two Danish filmmakers who got together and very quickly came up with a set of 10 rules for this new style of filmmaking. They named it Dogme 95. They were a little manifesto. And they partnered with two other filmmakers who are less notable, who I can never remember their names, and I don't even respect them enough to even try to get it right now, honestly. And then they started this movement. The first film to kick off this movement is The Celebration by Thomas Vinterberg, a great movie. The second is The Idiots by Von Trier, not a good movie. Lars von Trier, I don't like him very much. I don't know if you have different thoughts about Antichrist.
I don't like Antichrist. I like parts of The House That Jack Built. I like some of the ideas.
I like parts of it.
I've seen both Nymphomaniacs, and that's
not good.
It's one of those things where he does show you things that you've never seen before. There's a I can't even say it on here, I don't want to, like very disgusting scene in Nymphomaniac Part 2.
There could be many things you're referring to. Which, give me a clue.
It involves...
Two men?
Not that one.
Oh, okay.
It involves a coat hanger.
Oh.
Yeah. That's one thing that I was like, this might be a little too far, but I've never seen that in a movie, so you did something unique. He's
an edgelord. Von Trier is a huge edgelord. He loves just putting things in movies that are objectively hard to sit through and whatever, and they're kind of done without much. There's not really like much depth to it. You don't feel like there's really a reason for it other than just to shock.
Yes, with the exception of I really do love The Kingdom. That was his answer to Twin Peaks. I think like some Danish like film board or whatever was like, hey, Twin Peaks is like really popular. Can you just do like a Danish version, like something like that? And it was insanely popular in Denmark.
Oh yeah, of course I can.
And the Nordic countries. I recommend The Kingdom. if you guys can find it, and you like Twin Peaks, like an interesting thing. It takes place in a hospital that's supernatural.
Yeah.
And it also had a third final season, like 20 years later, where the cast returns.
It's on Criterion, right? Or it comes on Criterion sometimes?
I think it was on MUBI. It has Udo Kier in it, who just passed away. Rest in peace. He plays an interesting character named Lil Bro. I won't say too much, but when he's introduced, it was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Genuinely fantastic show that may not be for you, but it is interesting.
I like some of the early Von Trier stuff. We were talking the other night about how Breaking the Waves and, what's it called? Dancer in the Dark. Those are the two that are like, I think anyone who's into kind of more unusual, like European cinema could watch it and be like, oh, this is great. And most of the rest of Von Trier's stuff is very, like, I think Dogma kind of actually like poisoned his mind a little bit, where he never really recovered from like we need to do something out of the box, where everything he makes, it's like, it's just, I think that honestly, a lot of it is terrible. I think Antichrist is a piece of shit. Danny?
Okay, he's gone.
I think Antichrist sucks. I think Nymphomaniac sucks. I think Dogville is not very good. There's something else of his I've seen from before Breaking the Waves. I can't remember the name of, but I didn't think that was very good either. And even Breaking the Waves is like not amazing. It's okay. And Dancer in the Dark is, to me, it's just sort of okay. I know some people will love it. It has an extremely powerful ending that most people, if they know anything about it, they probably know that ending. But Von Trier doesn't really work for me. And he honestly kind of, I think, puts, the reason I mention all this, I think he puts a bad look on the Dogma movement, because he is the more like upfront face of it, Like way more people know him than Vinterberg. Yeah. Way more people know his credits than Vinterberg's.
That is true. He's the more outspoken guy, but pretty much everybody can agree that Vinterberg is like the guy with actual talent. Yeah. I mean, there are people who love Von Trier, and I don't think he's completely devoid of talent. There are certain things that I really like in some of his movies, but Danny does not like, apparently. Yeah, he's in, what would you call it? Like an enfant terrible. He's the bad child.
Okay, yeah, I don't speak French. Sounds like I don't know.
I didn't mean to be pretentious. That is an actual term they use.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not great. I mean, like he's the father of some awesome moments. I mean, famously, he cannot go back to the Cannes Film. By the way, he was the darling of the Cannes Film Festival for a long time. I don't know if you know this. Von Trier has directed more films that won awards at Cannes than anybody else.
Really?
Breaking the Waves, Emily Watson. Every movie he makes wins Best Actress at Cannes. Emily Watson for Breaking the Waves, Bjork for Dancer in the Dark, what's her face for Antichrist?
Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Yeah, Charlotte Gainsbourg. Kirsten Dunst for Melancholia. By the way, I like Melancholia. That's also one of the Von Triers that I can kind of get through.
I think it's fine. I don't love it, but it's I think some people, they're like, I despise that. I'm like, really despise? And
that's another thing about the Dogma thing is people watch stuff like Melancholia, and I can imagine that if you know anything about Dogma, you watch non-Dogma Von Trier films, you could say, wow, Dogma must fucking suck, because I don't like the way Von Trier does the stripped down style thing that they invented with Dogma, then they kind of all abandoned. Mm-hmm. For the record, Vinterberg and Von Trier have only made one Dogma movie each, and it was the first, within the first year or two of Dogma existing. Yeah. Although they both still kept elements of the Dogma style in their style. Von Trier especially of, like we don't block the scenes, whatever, which isn't one of the rules of Dogma, but like, it's a very like we find it in the shooting of it, like induced documentary we talked about.
Not a lot of pre-planning.
Yes, yeah. and a lot of movies that don't involve really like plot. It's just a lot of kind of actors doing weird things, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For me, mostly it doesn't work. We talked about the notable Dogma movies. Celebration, otherwise known as Festin, give that a big recommendation. I don't even want to really get into spoilers. I think everyone should just watch it. It's a really fantastically performed and written movie. The Idiots, not so much. Julian Donkey Boy, honestly, that is the second best Dogma movie in my eyes, and it is the companion piece of the Celebration, and they also came out close together.
Yes, it's the first American Dogma movie. I believe it's number 6.
Something like that.
Okay, I'm going to put Danny away.
What does Danny do?
I was a fan of Harmony Korine before I even knew that he made a Dogma movie, because I figured I learned about Dogma and like what it really was, like kind of later in my film consciousness. And then I saw that the first time, And the first time I was like, whoa, I didn't realize you could make a movie like this. Like, this was my entry to the what they call the vows of chastity of the Dogma 95. And I saw that and I was like, it was restrictive, but it was so inspiring that you could make something like that. Like, I have, a handheld, like, Sony, like, camera that records on tape. So it's like, technically, I could make something that looks like this because I don't need a professional crew. And it's one of those things that I get why they started the movement because of that, because they were just like, Hollywood is just like so full of bullshit. Everything. And like a lot of the rules are basically like, you can't use these Hollywood type things. Yeah. Like one of the rules is like, you can't use like any filters, and that the movies look worse to the eye, but you can also realize, oh, I could make this, and people have to be more creative to make it look good in the camera or on set. So it was very inspiring to me.
The rules limit certain elements of the content of your movie, and especially limit what you can do in the act of production, which also influences and limits the content a little bit more. So what you're left with is a mission that you have to tell a compelling story using only basically actors in a space doing something that they can do that's not relying on any props or what they call superficial action. So murders and, whatever, like easy stuff to just heighten drama. You can't use any of that stuff. So then what you have are a lot of movies where people are very emotional, and there's just a lot of arguing. There's a lot of singing. There's a lot of kind of people just like doing kind of weird, like stimming out things to express emotion, because that's all you have. What you get often is not very good movies, honestly. Like it's a big challenge to make a Dogma movie and make it good. But you do get inarguably some extremely different, unique, intellectually stimulating stuff. Like Julian Donkey Boy, we were watching just a little bit of it earlier, and there were scenes that I didn't even remember in the movie that I was like, why is this here or whatever? Like, it's not perfect, but the stuff that's in it that works well, like if you're open to it, it is so valuable to watch. Like it does kind of change you, and it makes you realize, like what you were saying, like it makes you realize like, oh, like I didn't think making a movie like this would even make sense. Like it just sounds like you're setting yourself up to fail trying to tell that story, but it's like they did it. And it's like, it's actually not that hard. You realize it's not that hard to make a movie. Like if you just have, there are scenes in Julian where you're like, they clearly were just making it up as they went, but it is some of the best stuff in the movie. Yes. So it's more about like what you're capable of, like your creative spirit, than it is about like how you can just show people how smart you are. And there's a lot of people who make indie movies, mumblecore movies, stuff that's mumblecore inspired by Dogma. Where you go like, oh my God, like you kind of put a bad face on all this shit because you're just making pretentious stuff or stuff that's, just designed to have nude scenes so that you can get actresses naked. Like that's what a lot of these kinds of things become, Yeah.
The best thing I can say about Dogma is most of them, at least the ones that people have seen, are creative. Yeah. There's one that is fairly watchable. I think you can probably find it online, called Camera. I believe it's like Dogma, like number 15. It came out a bit later. From what I remember, it's just the story of a camera that gets like, passed around and like stolen across like New York. And you can tell there's just like no filming permits. Because I mean, first of all, it'd be so fucking expensive to just film like in the Upper East Side or something like that. And it is interesting to see something from a camera's perspective. Did it need to be a Dogma movie? Not exactly, but the reason Dogma existing is the reason why this movie was created, because it showed that people could be creative with these restrictions, and you didn't need a lot of money to make a movie. So that's really why I stand by Dogma. Some people, they say this is one of like the worst movements of all time. It's like pretentious, when really it's not pretentious, because there are a ton of like film students or people who made like their first movie as a Dogma movie. Especially there's one that I've been researching, and the story is very interesting, called Security Colorado. I was going through the Dogma list, and I realized that most of these had a story. There used to be a Dogma website. It was dogma95.dk, which is the Danish domain extension. On that site, which is now archived, you can look at, everything had a description of what the movie was, except for a couple. There was Security Colorado, which I was like, okay, I can't find anything about this online. There's like a letterbox listing and like 4 people who give it a rating, but I don't think they watched it because this movie is not streamable anywhere. I've looked into the history of when you could watch this. It was on like the Sundance Channel in like 2013. And there are like some IMDb reviews all around from like the same week. So I can tell that was when it played, where everybody's like, yeah, I don't know. It didn't get great reviews. I'm not going to say this is a 5-star movie, but you physically cannot watch this movie. And, you know, I have autism. I kind of got a little hyper-focused on this. So I was like, I wonder if I can find this movie. Searched everything, looked at all the people involved. They all went to University of North Carolina Film School. And by the way, I'm not like doxing any of these people. These people have gone on to have careers, actually. So these are people who really work in Hollywood or like Hollywood adjacent who are making real movies now. So don't think I'm like talking about a guy who just like retired or is like wants to be private.
You monster.
The only thing I could really find was like a 5-minute clip from the director who's credited as Andrew Gillis in the movie. And one thing, one of the rules is that the director cannot be credited, but everybody finds a way to get credited because your name's tied to it. But you just can't have directed by da-da-da.
Yeah.
You can have your
appear in the film.
Yes,
you can't have a credit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like in Julian Donkey Boy, it just says Harmony Korine.
Yeah. Like you don't have to make it a secret to the world that you made it. The film, when you watch it, can't have your name if you're the director. That's it. That's the rule.
It's arbitrary, but that's the rules.
Yeah.
So I looked up Andrew Gillis, found the clip on Vimeo from his channel, and then he has like, you know, kind of a reel of stuff he worked on in college. He was actually like second director on David Gordon Green's one of his movies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot you told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw that and I was like, okay, so he worked with people. He went to school, and Paul Schneider's in this movie. He's like an actual actor. He's in Train Dreams.
Yes.
He's the guy.
Yes.
Well, I guess that's a spoiler. I can't say what happens to him. But Paul Schneider, I saw that and I said, holy fuck. I messaged this guy trying to find this movie. There's some other people who I don't want to name right now who have gone on to become like costume designers. There's one guy who just works on like the Penguin now.
Yes.
So real careers. And looking at this, I was like, well, these are some big names. I wonder if I can find this. I emailed Andrew and he's like, I didn't make this movie. Okay. Interesting. I don't know if I believe that. I emailed somebody else in production, and she was like, well, Andrew definitely made this movie. I don't know why he didn't say that. And then she pointed me to somebody else who was just like, oh, yeah, I did make this. And none of them had copies, by the way, because this came out in I believe, like 2000 or 2001.
Something like that, yeah.
It was around the turn of the century. And they're just like, honestly, I don't expect everybody to have a copy of everything they worked on, but I'm like, can you point me in any direction? Went to another guy who worked in production, and he's like, I may have it on a VHS somewhere, but this is, like I said, this is a dude who actually works in Hollywood, and I'm just some guy. And it was cool that he responded, but then, the emails have stopped, and I don't expect him to go out of his way to look in a storage locker, which I think is what he said, to just find if he had it. So I was like, okay, these are kind of some dead ends. I've emailed and tried to call the fucking Sundance offices in New York. By the way, Robert Redford, these people that you have given jobs to, I know you're dead now. They fucking suck. Yeah. I emailed them multiple times across different emails, have not gotten a single thing back in 3 fucking months. I call the Sundance offices and the phone goes straight to voicemail. How can I contact Sundance? I can't even call like the fucking film festival.
To play devil's advocate for poor Robert, by the way, by a lot of accounts, huge asshole, by the way, so I don't feel bad about pissing on his grave, actually. You know what? You're probably one of the only people in our age group who's messaging these people, and not because you're like, can you please accept my film into your Sundance? You know what I mean? They probably get endless spam of like just complete losers who just think that they can email their way into like a film career.
Yeah.
So they probably just have a rule of like, dude, just don't answer it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like if I was working there, like I would never answer anyone's, even if it is a normal request, but that is really frustrating. I'm sorry.
And the fact that the phone does, okay, here's what you ring the Sundance offices, which is in New York, by the way. They have enough money to have like phone service.
I thought they were in Colorado.
No, the movie is. The Sundance Channel. Because it aired on the Sundance Channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have offices in New York.
Oh, right. They just hold their festival in Colorado.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was confused. I'm stupid.
You're not stupid. I love you. But you call the number, and then immediately goes like, oh, so like, it doesn't even like have a voicemail. It just goes like ring, ring, and just goes boop, boop. Or it just like, I'm like, okay, so am I blacklisted somehow? This is the only time I called them like twice within the same day. I'm like, well, obviously you should pick up because it's during office hours. I checked on their fucking website that they were open that day. Still nothing. So I'm very frustrated. And I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So I start just like, at a certain point, I'm just like, well, hold on. A lot of these people went to UNC as well.
Yes.
So I'm just going to call the college And I found like the direct number of like, film building. And then I think it was after hours. So I left a message. And I'm just like, I know this is a weird question, but I'm looking for this film. I don't know if you guys made it, because people don't know. Sometimes, like, when you make a movie in a film school, they own the rights to it in certain cases.
Sometimes this happened to us. Sometimes they have you sign a thing where they say you're using our equipment, whatever, it's made with our resources, so it belongs to blank blank films, which is like the name of the college.
Yes.
And this is a completely like not okay thing to do, that they trick you into signing away your own ownership of your projects.
Yes.
And they tell you that it's a formality, but it's not. It's really just so the college can own your work, so that then if you make something good, they can, I guess, make money off you or something.
Yes, this is something that I thought might be the case. My contact inside UNC that I talked to, which I'll keep anonymous, they said, no, this actually isn't something we do. And we don't really have a partnership with Sundance. They used to in the past of like, oh, we've got movies and they go to like the channel or something. That really hasn't happened in years. So they really don't have any connection to Sundance. UNC did not produce this movie, so that avenue kind of went away, but my contact was like, how did you even find out about this? And they did a lot of research for me. They looked through all the records and said, yeah, I looked through all the people you named. They gave all the names, and they said, there's nothing here that matches anything that you're looking for. So shout out to my contact there. You genuinely gave me a lot of good information to go on. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to some random autistic guy who's just trying to find closure at this point. Yeah. And then all my leads started to dry up. And at a certain point, I wondered, I'm like, does this movie really exist? And I'm pretty sure it does, because there's reviews of it, but you cannot find anything except one clip on Vimeo about this movie. I tried to message Paul Schneider, the actor, on Instagram. I didn't get his email. No response, because he's a real actor. And, they get tons of DMs. It's like, oh, you were in Parks and Rec, blah, blah. Yeah. And then another guy who just has like a band now, so he has a check mark on Instagram, who's just like, probably doesn't see my message.
Sure.
Not that these people are like too famous or it's beneath them now, but pretty much every avenue I have has dried up. So I'm going to make a video soon and post it on our channel, detailing the search and putting a call to action for anybody that can help me find this fucking movie, because the guy who apparently directed it is like, I didn't do it. Nobody has a copy. Sundance has stopped returning my calls. The college was helpful, but said we physically do not have anything like this. And they were willing to give it to me. My contact was like, I could send it. And I was like, I hope you could, but just no. So this is why I also wanted us to make our own Dogma system, because I was just so like hyper focused at this point. And I have some problems with the Dogma rules. I think a lot of them are just arbitrary and way too restrictive for no good reason. So let's get into that.
I think I want to mention, you already know this, but the listeners don't, related to the Security Colorado search. Do you remember when Yandex had that thing where if you typed in like any 5 numbers, it would show a picture of a child and a price tag?
Yeah.
I have a feeling like Security Colorado is just like, it's like a best of the worst, like Wheel the Worst tape kind of thing, where it just starts playing. It's just Jeffrey Epstein. He's like, all right, this is child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4. And it's just for ordering child prostitutes.
It's a secret code.
Because everyone involved is like, I didn't work on that actually. And it's like, why are you all like, I have a theory that this movie is like some kind of cover for something.
Yeah.
Or, it's like it's an online placeholder, the way that all the furniture on Yandex was, where when you took those like UPC codes and searched them, it was like just missing children. So.
Yeah. To be clear, we are joking for the people who worked on this movie.
Sure.
The ones I contacted who responded were actually very nice, but the director was like, I didn't make this. And everyone was like, yeah, he did. He super did.
I'm not convinced.
I don't know. You guys will have to watch the video and decide for yourselves.
We talked earlier about how Dogma is a big inspiration for mumblecore. Dogma, very influential movement. You mentioned flawed. I agree. We're going to get into the rules here. I will say, to give Dogma some praise, because we're probably going to shit on it quite a bit here, to give it some praise, I do genuinely love the idea of creating something that is, obviously meant to be extreme, just to simply force a reaction to the extremes of the time of how movies were becoming just like garbage. So I do like that spirit. And, I guess like just a full disclosure thing, like we are aware that Dogma is not meant to be like, this is the new way movies have to be filmed. It's a game. We get it. We know. But you can still do this game and maybe do it a little better. And, you talked about making our own Dogma. So some other fuckers beat us to the punch here because we looked at the Dogma rules and then we came up with kind of an inverse or, our own version, which we titled YOBme 25. We then found out, because it's 2025, at the time that we wrote this, and then we found out that these fuckers in Cannes, these other just random ass Danish, thought they could do their own Dogma 25. Same year, stole our thunder. Fuck you guys. By the way, we thought of it before them. We thought of it before this happened.
Yes.
This has been on the books for a very long time.
Some literal who's who have made like no movies whatsoever.
I have it right here. 5 Danish filmmakers picking up the baton from the founders of Dogma 95, launching Dogma 25, along with a new manifesto and 10 vows of chastity. So they stole the number. We came up with our own. We came up with more than 10 rules because we're not just trying to copy. This is just copycat shit. How is this a storm? This is so dumb. May L. Thauki is one of them from The Crown. You remember her? Milad Alami, the charmer.
Classic Danish name.
Isabella Mohammed. That's weird.
Oh, another name.
Isabella Eklof from Kalak fame. Annika Berg. Now, if you're noticing, a lot of women here. Annika Berg of Hurricane fame and rising talent Jesper Just lead the new revolution. I don't know what their rules are, by the way. I couldn't find them. I'm sure that it's published somewhere what their Dogma 25 thing is. Actually, you know what? I know that we found it because you did find it somewhere and we read them and it was just like, what is this shit?
Yes, a lot of them are very contrived and just like arbitrary.
Yeah.
But just for the record, the original rules, I feel like we should go over.
Yes.
Of Dogma 95. First one, shooting must be done on location. Props and sets must not be brought in. If a particular prop is necessary for the story, a location must be chosen where this prop is to be found. So no sound stages, nothing like that. Everything has to be recorded where it's supposed to be.
What you see is what you get, and you can't supply props to the scene that wouldn't already be found in that place. So if you need someone to have a flashlight, you got to go somewhere where there's a fucking flashlight and film your flashlight scene there.
And you can't say, oh, this is Hogwarts.
Yes. One of my favorite jokes our friend made in film school where it's like, all right, we're going to be making our first short films. And so we got to make something achievable, shootable, something low budget with a few actors. And then like everyone presents the scripts and it's like, all right, so mine, interior, Hogwarts. And you're like, okay, great. For the record, this first rule, I'm a fan. I support it.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. If you want to follow YOBme 25, which is just the inverse of all the rules, what is our version of this rule, Mr. Nick?
Shooting must not be done on location, and every scene needs props. So you can't have it of like if you're shooting like your apartment, you can't say, "Oh, this is my apartment." You have to say it's, I don't know, Guantanamo Bay.
Yes.
And then you have to be wearing a sombrero or something that you just don't own already.
Oh, and we forgot to say, we are going to make short films following our YOBme 25 rules.
Yes.
And, we're going to do our best. I think we should try to make something good, even though these rules, it's a little challenging because, there's some humor behind the inverting of everything.
It's an exercise in creativity, which is what it should be. Yes. And if we're taking the piss here, making YOBme 25, we should at least try to make something that people can enjoy.
And this is equally hard a challenge because if you cannot do any scene on location, that means if we filmed a scene in this apartment, it has to be as if this is not an apartment.
So this is the White House.
By making every location be different, that's actually extremely challenging.
Yes.
That means if you want to shoot like a scene on a street at night, you have to do it indoors somewhere.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out a way to make it look like a street at night.
Have some car lights passing by, and you can do that in this one.
So everyone's going to be making Sin City kind of movies if they follow YOBme 25. And by the way, we'll post these online somewhere so that you can follow at home. Original Dogma rule number 2, the sound must never be produced apart from the images or vice versa. Parenthetical, music must not be used unless it occurs where the scene is being shot. So you can't put sound in later, whether it's music, pre-made music, or ADR, sound effects, whatever.
It has to be recorded on location while you're shooting it,
Once again, I like this rule.
I think it's good. It is restrictive. I don't think it's like that bad though, but it does it avoids the pitfalls of like in movies where they have like, some guy brings up a gun and it has like the cocking sound effect, and it's like, well, that sound isn't made when you draw a gun. That's actually kind of a Hollywoodism, and it's something that does irk me that just nobody notices.
Yeah.
And somebody in post is like, oh, the sound goes here, so it allows you to be a little more realistic.
Yes, and also these also take things off your shoulders, like, because then you don't have to, if you're not having to worry about how things are coming together later. Yes, you're focused more on like paying attention to the scene you're shooting, but also it creates less headaches later because it's like, hey, whatever you captured is what you get. And if I need a scene where I want to have a lot of like overwhelming sound, okay, we got to go find like a train station. We got to go somewhere where there's going to be overwhelming sound. Yeah. It forces you to use what already exists. So it actually makes the film cheaper.
It does.
It makes it more producible to follow these rules for many of them. This one is one that I particularly like, though, because for me, part of what makes me hate making movies and made me just not enjoy film school is all of the fucking work and trust you have to have that other people aren't going to fuck your sound and stuff like that or whatever. But you could always fix it later. The problem is fixing it later just fucking sucks. So it's like, it's kind of more of a thing of like, I'm going to be selective with my crew and I'm going to be like very low tech in terms of we have the camera with the microphone. I focus on the equipment and making sure it works. We get the scene done, whatever, efficient. All the bullshit that doesn't matter happening off camera, you just take it off because everyone's expecting it to be there. But you can always say, hey, I'm following Dogme. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to have all those other frills, whatever. So it allows like a less stressful process, I think.
I agree. And what is the inverse of this, Caleb?
Oh, yes. So the YOBme 25, number 2, all sound must be added later in post-production. So you cannot record sound on set.
Yes, you can talk in your scenes, but you're going to have to record that into a microphone later.
Everything must be re-recorded later.
Every sound effect, yes.
All sound must be added later. So basically the scratch audio from the camera has to be recorded so that you know what was said, but it has to be replaced later. I love this rule. I think this is also going to make it extremely hard to make a YOBme movie.
This is going to be hard, but also be really funny.
I think it'll be really funny.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say both of us for our YOBme, because we have our other list we'll get to later. We're going to make films from both lists. I think it's safe to say that our YOBme short films are going to be comedies.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any way.
There's no way around it.
There's no way for us to try to make something serious in the time that we're going to have with, these rules. So,
real rule number 3. The camera must be handheld. Any movement or immobility attainable in the hand is permitted. So can't use a tripod, can't use crane, dolly, anything like that.
Yeah.
Everything you have to be physically holding the camera, walking around ideally. A lot of these movies are pretty mobile.
Yes, and again, this is a rule that I like, and I love. We watched when we were watching Julian Donkey Boy earlier. I love that it forces you to have really creative compositions because since you can't like artificially light your scenes or whatever, in this shot where you clearly needed some kind of contrast to be able to see a character what they're doing, they had to hold the camera up above a chandelier and then kind of zoom in a little bit so that you're shooting through the chandelier and there's kind of this glow effect and it looks beautiful. So it forces you to actually create like some unique shots you would never think to do because it's crazy, but then you have to do it and you get some really cool stuff. Same in Celebration. You have a lot of like low angle handheld shots. They had to do creative stuff where they created, they took like a stand used for like a symbol and they like extended it really far and then like duct taped the camera to the end so they could have like a big panning shot that could go way higher than a hand can go because they can't use a crane. So, it's kind of ugly, but it is, again, creative and it creates shots that inspire future shots like the road scene in One Boner After Another.
It's always better to be creative.
Yes.
Even if it looks bad. The inverse of this is the camera must always be on a tripod or some other stabilizing device. No handheld in YOBme 25.
No handheld. Everything's got to be on sticks. I feel like this rule is pretty easy to follow.
Yeah.
Makes it a little easier to shoot your film because at least then it's just like, hey, it's going to be a static shot unless you have like a fucking dolly, but who does, So a lot of Haneke movies we're going to be making with the YOBme
That's
25 rules. Rule number 4, the film must be in color. Special lighting is not acceptable. Parentheses, if there is too little light for exposure, the scene must be cut or a single lamp be attached to the camera, which is going to look terrible if you shoot anything. So really what this means is just you're not going to have lighting. So now this does allow you to be selective with what lights you leave on and turn off in a space. So you can still, get some cool shots, but this is a very restricting rule. And I kind of don't like this rule.
Yes, because film is a visual medium. And if I can't Somebody made a critique about horror games that does relate to this, where they say if something in the game is like scary and you're using tone, that's fine. But if I literally can't see what's going on, that's not scary. That's frustrating.
Exactly.
And it does relate to movies. I want to be able to see the thing that you're showing me, even if it looks bad. But like with modern movies, especially modern horror movies, the lighting is so bad that sometimes I'm like, is my TV not calibrated correctly? I just can't see anything that's going on. So I'm not a big fan of this.
And the people can relate to this because everyone's going through it. Everyone knows this now, where it's like everything that is shot you cannot see.
Yes, and I mean, and you yourselves are like, we have special lights. They're not like that expensive. Like when we took our like photo for the cover of the podcast, we used special lighting.
Yes,
and so it's not. I don't find it. Yeah, I don't find this rule really like, oh, you're sticking it to Hollywood.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we talked earlier about how this is an extreme as a reaction to how movies became too sanitized and everything. But the problem with movies has never been that there's too much time on set spent lighting. This is a complaint that filmmakers have, but no, movie fans are never like, damn, you can tell they just cared only about the cinematography. It's like, I mean, well, actually, you know what? I guess there are movies people have probably said that about where they were just bored by the movie, but it's not like that's why the movie was bad. Filmmakers complain about this because they hate lighting, and a lot of filmmakers will just choose nowadays because cameras are good enough at seeing in the darkness with their extremely high dynamic range that you don't have to light things anymore. If you could see it with your own eye, your camera will be able to see it about as well. And so to save time, a lot of filmmakers just don't light things anymore. I think this is kind of anti-cinema. I think that kind of the whole point, like there are movies that are shot that look great with no lighting, but they're just very carefully selected. Like I said, what lights you leave on and turn off in a space and where you put the camera and everything. But sometimes you need lighting. There are scenes that I've shot in short films I made in college where some of the best looking shots, there was no way to make it look pleasing based on what was already there. We had to actually just do a lot of the scenes you would never think were lit, like a scene where a TV is on, but it wasn't bright enough. So we had to shine a bunch of LEDs and bounce them behind the television and then put like gaming footage on the TV so it would change fast enough that you could actually see the flicker. Yeah. There was no way to get the effect needed for that shot without faking it. So, just as one example, I think this rule, it makes it easier to shoot because you don't have to worry about lighting, but I think it's just guaranteeing uglier imagery. So that's my thoughts on the real rule. The inverse rule, the film must go through post-processing to adjust color and exposure. Every shot must be at least partially artificially lit. So if you shoot a scene outside, you still have to light it somehow.
You still have to have like a flashlight shining on your face. So you have that weird like glow when girls don't do their makeup correctly. Yes. Or they look oily.
I love it.
Yeah. Rule number 5, optical work and filters are forbidden. I agree with this mostly. I think it's good that you're not relying on doing something in post or just like a camera effect to get what you want. But I don't think that's necessarily bad because a lot of like really good movies do have like interesting looks to them or like color timing, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not like super against it. This is where I start to think like, okay, well, this is a little arbitrary by saying like you can't do anything.
This is one where it feels like one of the two guys was just like, and you know what else is gay is optical filters.
It was definitely Von Trier.
And it's like, why? Yeah, like well, this doesn't really, it doesn't fit in. It kind of stands out from the other rules where it's like, well, why is that? It's not like this, again, just like with the lighting thing, like this isn't really something that's bastardizing cinema. So like, why do you have a problem with it?
Yeah. And the inverse of this, filters must be used or you're going in the soup. I like it. You read that. You have to have like that Snapchat filter that puts like hearts on your cheeks or something like that. Or make it like sepia, whatever.
Or at least put some saran wrap over the lens. You have to have some kind of filter.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually creative. You have to have a filter. Use whatever you can to make a filter. So
yeah, it can't just be the glass. Rule number 6, the film must not contain superficial action, parentheses, murders, weapons, etc. must not occur. We talked about this one earlier. Basically, your movie has to be a drama or a comedy, and the plot has to be based on just the decisions of people, but not in a way where they're trying to do something that's like inherently dramatic, meaning what's happening in the movie kind of has to be something that if it was happening in real life, you'd be like, oh, that's weird. Whereas in real life, if you found out someone got murdered, you're like, whoa, he's dead. You can't have anything like that. So you can't have like acts of God where people get injured. You can't have people get like terminal illnesses that are going to be pregnant with drama where now, father's in the hospital. You can't do any of that shit. The drama has got to be basically just people being dickheads which is what most of them are. Most of the Dogma movies.
Yeah, in Julian specifically, I mean, that movie is kind of just like a slice of life, you know, of Werner Herzog being an insane, like, overbearing father, and Julian going, King Ghidorah. Yeah, it is a little bit restricted, because I feel like this really pigeonholes you into the type of things that you can make, and, like, people way before cinema was even invented, like, some even, like, ancient, like, Greek plays, like, contain quote-unquote superficial action, and they're, like, well received. So I'm not a big fan of this.
Most drama really like that we think of as the pillars or the foundational works that everyone is always just doing different versions of, like many of Shakespeare's plays. It's all someone's raping somebody, someone's killing somebody, you know. But I get it. I'm okay with this rule. I mean, like, it's nice to have something where it's like, okay, you got to be forced to be a little more creative than just doing the easy dramatic stuff. Inverse of this rule, there must be superficial action parentheses murders and weapons encouraged. So the more violence and just like slapdash like bullshit, anything you can do to just make it like melodramatic is encouraged. You know the meme of like student films where there's always like a gun involved or like cigarettes or like someone just gets murdered, but like the guy making the movie who's playing the main character is just like some 19-year-old like twig. It's like, I don't think you're a drug dealer. Shout out Ralph Seppi Jr. who thought he could play a John Wick role in one of his movies. Fucking moron. Well, as he said, if anyone out there made a movie because he made a movie, then he did his job, because all filmmakers have to lie to themselves and say that their job is really just to make other people make movies.
No.
It's not that I did something bad.
Rule number 7. Temporal and geographical alienation are forbidden. That is to say that the film takes place here and now. You cannot do a period piece. You can't do something, can't do a sci-fi movie in the future. Has to be present era, present time, present day.
Yes.
I don't like this. I think it's stupid. I mean, you can, like, what is the point of this? Saying that the modern day is the most interesting. I can't do something that takes place, and this is a little vague, by here and now. So I can't do something that's like a year ago, 5 years ago, a year in the future.
I think this rule, I think what they were, I think a better rule that would get at probably what they were trying to satisfy with this one and would be better for Dogma is if you had some kind of rule that's like, your film can't contain things that couldn't happen in the real world. So you can make a period piece, you could make science fiction as long as it's grounded, based in something where it's like, well, that could happen. But it's like, you can't make Star Wars. You can't make Get Out. Like, if the rule is like, you have to do something that could really happen in the real world, I think that would satisfy their want for it to be, you know, real stuff. Because this, as written, it's like, so wait, it has to take place in modern day. Well, okay, that's great in 1995, but nowadays, almost any story you tell in modern day could be ruined with a cell phone existing. So, like,
exactly.
If you notice that every good filmmaker only makes period pieces, there's a reason for that, you know? Except for one boner, actually. Paul Thomas Anderson broke his streak, because all these 90s filmmakers, Wes Anderson, Tarantino, Paul Thomas Anderson, once they entered the 2000s, they never made a contemporary film again until now, with PTA making one boner.
Wow.
It's the first, if you think about it, it's the first time that any of these guys... Yeah.
Inverse of Rule 7, the film must take place in the past or future and cannot take place in the current year or in the geographical location in which it was shot. So let's say we're filming something in my apartment. We have to be like, it is the year 2100 and this is Topeka, Kansas.
I love this rule.
That is going to be maybe the easiest one to do.
Sure.
And that, because we can just lie.
You just have a Chiron that's just like, 2300.
Yeah.
But then it's modern day.
Yeah, lower third or something that's just like, the future.
Is your film gonna fade up with you on your phone? You're like, damn, I love how the new iPhone is just like that one from 300 years ago.
I'm looking at it, I'm just like, oh my god, President McKinley just got assassinated. I can't believe that. A guy living in Paris.
That's funny. Rule number 8, genre movies are not acceptable, which if you're sitting at home and you're going, everything's a genre, what that means is things that are not comedy or drama. Things you couldn't put on a stage with only actors talking. So literally any genre that isn't comedy or drama is forbidden.
Like a horror movie, for example.
Yeah. Horror, fantasy, action,
sci-fi,
anything. Any kind of story that's not just based on human emotions or human silliness, basically. Inverse this rule, it has to exist as a genre. The more schlocky, the better. And I think we added that because specifically, I think Vinterberg had the idea for the no genre films. And it was like, the reason why they wanted to cut out all genre is that they wanted to encourage films that would be getting to like the truth of what human beings are capable of, and be able to like display the ugly sides of humanity,
The human element.
the human element in all of its without any dressings or any sugarcoating, basically. There's actually a quote here. Vinterberg also said this is easier for actors and it's going to give you better performances because you don't have all this on-set film shit where you're shooting an action movie, but it's really like the top of a train cut off on a green screen and nothing's really happening. It forces you, whatever the actors are living through, you have to really create the situation, so it's less acting and more like you're capturing real stuff instead of I'm pretending I'm Wolverine with my claws.
Yeah, you also don't have to be like, all right, and a ghost is going to get you. Pretend that the ghost is scary. It's like,
exactly.
no.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the behind the scenes when they're shooting like the Annabelle movies or whatever?
Yes,
and it's like action, then it's like cut. And they're just like, all right, I'm going to my Starbucks. And it's like the worst fake scared acting. And it's like, no, you should really be in the moment. You can't shoot horror movies 3 seconds at a time. It doesn't work.
Yes. Rule number 9. The film format must be Academy 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
This is one of the dumbest ones where it's like, why? I thought you didn't want it to be like, Hollywood standard. I thought you wanted to do something different. You should be able to be like, if anything, like the inverse is going to be, if you can't tell, it's like you should be able to just choose like any aspect ratio that's not standard or something that's like interesting.
You would think they would make their thing. Your film may not be in 2:3:5 to 1 widescreen format or something. If they think that's a bastardization, but also 2:3:5 works. It depends on what the story is like, because this forces you to shoot in 4:3, which really works for some movies, but really doesn't for others because there's a certain mood. When you shoot something in 4:3, it's almost only used in period pieces and movies with a lot of stillness because it's a boxy frame. And so it kind of just feels like you're watching. It puts you in the mindset that you're sitting in a museum looking at a painting.
I agree.
But you're forced to shoot in Academy 35 millimeter, so you're going to have a box format. It sucks.
Inverse of this, the film cannot be in 4:3 aspect ratio. This is going to be the easiest one to do because every camera is like, 16:9.
Everyone is already shooting in a different aspect ratio, so it's,
very easy.
Final original Dogma rule, the director must not be credited. I think we already said everything we probably have to say about what we think of that rule. It's fine. I feel like it would be better if they just had a rule that was like just no credits. Because here's the thing, your credits already exist. IMDb is out there, and you still did the work and got paid. You don't need to bake into your entertainment a thing that says your name and that you made it. Like, you can have a movie that just starts and then ends, and we don't need fanfare.
And a lot of movies from the 40s, if you look at it, they just end.
Yes.
And there's no like, oh, here's the cast and crew. Yep. Like a lot of movies will have like starring like, Carol Lombard, Myrna Loy. But as soon as it ends, it's over.
You have department heads at the beginning of the movie, costumes, ... name. And it's like, that's it for costume. Not crediting 3 costume designers and all the seamstresses and all the anyone who got their hands on it, which now, like, again, Marvel, everything has Marvel credits where you watch a movie like Sinners, I think had like 8 minutes of credits. And yes. Like, how many people could have possibly worked on it?
And it will say like assistant to the director's dog, Marcus, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, did he really do anything? I mean, I'm all for people being credited for the work they did. Like, if you're like a gaffer or something or whatever, it's sure. I guess you worked on the movie, but a lot of it, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we don't need all this. I think this is just designed to be like, can you even handle this for your ego, you director? Not putting, because as we've talked about with Stuckman and many other people, there's a lot of directors who really what they're in it for is just to be able to have a thing that says I directed a movie. It's really not about the movie. So this is like, hey, leave your ego at the door. Mm-hmm. It's really just about the film. The YOBme 25 inverse rule. The director is the only person whose name can appear in the credits. So cuts to black, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, his favorite thing to see, the thing he lives for, and then nothing else, which really would make Tarantino orgasm, no contact.
Yeah. I also love when we're going to make our own, it's going to be like a Caleb Linder joint at the end, fade to black.
Yeah. So that's YOBme 25. You can basically do your own YOBme 25 without even needing this recording if you just look at the rules and do the opposite, because we did pretty much write them the exact inverse.
It is literal inverse.
So if you just refuse to follow Dogma, you'll still be forced to make something kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, it would be impossible to make a normal movie with these rules because rules 1 and 2, shooting not on location, all sound added later, those 2 things prohibit you, unless you have a lot of money, from shooting any kind of normal thing. So it kind of forces you to make something silly. But the rest of these rules, you could follow these and make a
pretty
normal,
standard.
Yeah. You could do it. So if you're really creative with the first two rules and you can pull it off, send it in. We'll give you the YOBme 25 certificate of authentication or authenticity, whatever you call it. We'll sign it. Yeah. We'll do that. We'll email you a PDF if you can send us a film and prove that you made it. And if we evaluate that you've followed all these rules, and we're going to be strict. We're not just handing these out like candy.
Yes, I need to say something about this. There are several films in the official Dogma movies that do not follow the rules. One is a Korean one called Interview, where they straight up just like have something on a tripod or like they have music playing like immediately and they don't follow the rules at all. And it somehow got verified Dogma. And I'm like, okay, this is where I started to think that Dogma was a scam, that they were just like saying like, yeah, fuck it, all right, so that they would get more traction. And that's what I still think to this day, because there's another movie that never officially released called The Sparkle Room. There was nothing about this online. There is less than Security Colorado. This movie has never been shown anywhere. You can't watch it. I don't think it exists. The director's still alive, but it got classification. There's also another movie that was never finished. I forget the name of it right now. But this guy was like, yeah, I'm going to have like all these moving parts. He only finished like a certain small short film section of it. And they just gave him classification anyway. For the finished project, not just the short film he did, so they really are not checking. We are going to be checking your fucking work like an angry parent.
Why did these guys check out of their own movement so quickly?
Because they realized it was kind of dumb.
I guess so. It's just like, yeah, maybe they immediately were like, this sucks. Like,
I hate doing this.
Maybe when they made their diet, like, here's the thing, Vinterberg pulled it off.
He did.
Feston follows all the rules. By the way, part of Dogma is that if you break the rules, you have to write confessions where you say, here's the rules I broke and here's why I had to do it. And they can still allow your movie to be considered Dogma if your confessions are honest and whatever, and they think it's acceptable and that you weren't just wanting to break the rules. I believe Julian
has non-diegetic music at the beginning, and they also technically broke a rule by having hidden cameras, so it wasn't like handheld. I think a person still like had it on their person, but Julian starts and ends with like operatic music. I think that was like literally an oversight where he was doing it and they're like, hey, that's music. And he's like, fuck.
Oh, God damn it.
I think that is. I'm not 100%. But it's like one of the only times that he broke a rule. Yeah. And I think he said, okay, well, confession, I straight up forgot.
Yeah. It's crazy how Vinterberg pulled off making a Dogma film. He didn't even have to do confessions for Feston, I don't think. Maybe there is like something minor, I think, with the credits.
There is one thing that I think was Feston and not the idiots, where he said, I taped up a window to stop light from coming through. And you technically can't do that.
Yeah, you have to. Yep, you're correct about that. He did have opening credits, but he didn't. It's not digital. Like put in later in post credits. It's like the credits are literally in the movie and you see them on camera, so it counted.
It's like people holding cards, right?
No, and I can't even really say because it kind of gives something away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's clever. It's cool. And when you see it, you're like, why is it that way? And then you learn and it's really rewarding. But if I say it, your mind is going to wander and you'll figure it out before you even watch the movie. So, but anyway, the fact that Vinterberg was able to pull it off, clearly you can do a Dogma movie good. By the way, in addition to YOBme, I want to try making a Dogma film, a short film probably. I'm not going to, try to make another feature because I'm already going to try to make a feature of our original doctrine. The fact that you can do it, they must have just thought this sucks way too hard to be worth it. Because, how quickly they gave up on it. It's like, you can make a Dogma film is pretty good. I think actually, even though we don't like all the rules, every single Dogma rule here is easy to follow. Technically,
if you have somebody who's like same as somebody doing like continuity on set, if you're just like have somebody being like, okay, well, this is like a prop, so we can't use that because it wasn't like found. We can't do this. If you have somebody who literally goes over all your scenes and is like there on set and you're like still conscious about it, and in post, in editing, you're not like putting any fancy filters on, it's pretty easy to follow as long as you're conscious at all times.
It is. Yeah. I think I could make a Dogma movie without even referring to this list and pass because I'm going to have to do it on location. I'm not going to be adding sound later because I can remember that rule naturally. I'm already going to be doing handheld because that's what I think of as a Dogma movie. I'm already shooting it in color. I'm not going to be using optical work and filters anyway. I'm not creating something with murders and weapons. Like all of these things, like what I think of as a Dogma movie, I already know to avoid all that shit. So I think we should try to make a Dogma short film at some point and, and try to revitalize some energy here because there's so few things that follow Dogma and actually do it that are good. And I think it could be done. I think people just lost steam or something. So. Anyway, we sat down and said, let's come up with our own actual rules. We came up with the Older Brother Credo. This will also be available online, and you can, again, try to make your own Older Brother Credo film. And if you can do it, we'll give you the real certificate of authenticity.
These are our real rules.
These are real rules that we came up with to put some creative limitations that we think are achievable and that you can still make a good movie with.
And it helps you be more creative. The main thing that we want with these rules is that you become creative. These are things meant to stimulate, not really hinder you, even though some are restrictions. But it's meant for you to lock in and actually make something creative.
To set you free. And several of our rules are things where you might hear them and you might go like, why would you even think? And it's because we know from firsthand experience that some of the things that we are forcing you to avoid with these rules are things that we have seen or lived through, practices that kill the creative process, where people put things off and don't get it done because of all the conveniences you have. So this forces you to eliminate those. So this is really focused on you getting the project made and forcing you to make something quality without just using the money hose, as Robert Rodriguez would call it.
Rule number 1, at least 50% of the screenplay must be written by the director/directors.
If your name is on the film, if you're in charge of this movie, you have to have written at least half the stuff.
You have to be a majority shareholder.
Yes. It's got to be it's got to be a personal story or something you care about, because you're going to have to come up with at least half the stuff. You cannot just get your talented friend to come up with it for you.
Yes, you have to put in the work yourself, because this is your movie. Your name's going to be on it. If your name's on a job, do it well.
Yes. Rule number 2, during the writing process for each draft of the screenplay, the writer or writers must abstain from all sexual activity.
No gooning, no sex. If you're married or have a girlfriend, you gotta say, babe, sorry, I have to lock in and finish my draft. So you can write your first draft, but during that draft, no touching peener of any kind. No cooming.
From fade in until from the moment that fade in is typed until the moment fade out is typed for each draft. During that process, between those two moments, you cannot get your nut.
Yes.
Now this is doable. Because if you're like, oh my God, well, I don't want to get prostate cancer, I can't go more than a week, you can do this in a week. Here's the thing. It doesn't take that long to type out a screenplay. And you know what else this does? It forces you to be like selective about your window when you're going to write. So then it forces you to like outline your screenplay, but you can't pre-write it, but it forces you to come up with ideas. And it's going to make you think really fucking hard about what you want to happen in this movie, because you want to be able to type it quickly.
Yes, it forces you to work. And one of like the best writing advice I've ever like seen, I forget who said this, is you can always edit a bad screenplay. You can't edit nothing.
Yes.
Yes. So you have to get something on the paper, and you can keep making it consistently better. And when you're doing your second, third, fourth, whatever draft, it's going to go by quicker, so you can get back to jerking
exactly.
it. Exactly. So you're just like, all right, it's Pavlovian conditioning, because you're just like, oh, when I finish my screenplay, oh, it feels so much better. So you're working more and more. You're going to make the perfect screenplay, and you're going to bust loads.
I am. I'm currently in the process. Oh, I forgot to say this before we started reading the rules. I'm currently in the process of planning out my Older Brother Credo film. It's going to be a feature. I'm aiming for it to be about 90 minutes when it's completed. It might be a little shorter. I'm aiming for about a 90-page script. I've outlined a fair amount of it. It's a pretty achievable idea, because it really just requires actors in a couple of different spaces and a lot of different scenes in, like, using a lot of the same locations many times. So logistically, it's a pretty easy shoot. Doesn't require any props really that I don't already own and could supply myself. So I'm planning this out right now, and I think I'm ready to write that first draft. I don't know. I'm going to try to just do it all on my own. If I need assistance, I know who I'm going to for that other half of the 50%.
I'll be right there, brother.
But I'm very excited. It's a movie that once, it'll be a long time from when you're hearing this now, because I still got to write it, then plan it, and then shoot it, and then edit it. I'm going to release this under Creative Commons. It's going to be free, available online. I'm going to be making it for basically no money, so it's not like I need to profit from it.
As well.
And I'm going to rely on hopefully the just charity of actors who are willing to work for either free or very little money. But I'm going to be paying for it for myself and releasing it for free for you. When you're finally able to see what this movie is, you'll be like, if you're a YOBme fan, you'll go, I understand exactly where that idea came from. That's all I'll say.
Okay. And I do have to say, I'm not ready to share exactly what mine is yet, but I do have an idea. Mine is not going to be as location hopping, but I have a very interesting moral quandary that I want to write about.
I'm really excited. Is this going to be a feature or a short film?
I'm not sure exactly yet.
Okay.
I'm still in the pre-production, but I do have an idea that I'll tell you off mic, and you can tell me if I'm stupid. But I do have a genuine idea.
You based on the ideas that you've shared with me before for other things that you think are interesting or whatever, I'm sure it's going to be like worthy of a dramatic. I'm sure it's going to be good because you have some interesting ideas.
I have some interesting ideas. It's not that one that you and I might work on one day that is extremely hard to film with our current cash flow.
Yeah.
But mine is extremely filmable.
Nice.
It's not Hogwarts. Rule number 3. Before the writer or writers can start writing for the day, they must eat 1 full meal, exercise for at least 30 minutes, bathe, communicate with one close family member, and daydream for at least 15 minutes. Note-taking during daydreaming is not permitted. Now, a lot of people listening to this are going to be like, okay, well, that was a mouthful, and that's a lot of things to do. Why? This may seem arbitrary, and you guys just said a lot of stuff was arbitrary. It's very important to eat breakfast.
It is.
It's important to, during the writing process, stay connected to humanity and take care of your body, because it's not healthy for somebody sitting in their chair all day, hunched over, writing everything, and just like trying to get through it. You still have to maintain part of a social life. If you have to go to work that day, I mean, you can take care of a lot of these.
You can't just be sitting there drinking Diet Cokes.
Yes.
This forces you to have a routine.
It's a routine.
It's going to help wake you up. You're getting exercise. You're oxygenating your brain. And this was your idea, but I love this rule because personally, I've had many times where it's like, all right, I have a day that I can set aside to, to edit something or to write something, whatever. And then like, you kind of, it's like you're in your pajamas and it's still noon and you haven't really woken up yet and you haven't really showered. And it's just so easy to procrastinate because you don't feel ready yet because you didn't force yourself. This, again, the clock is on, all sexual activity abstained. So this forces you to get that routine in, wake up, get in your chair, get the coffee and get going.
Yeah, and this isn't just like going through the motions. This is like, okay, my event today is to write this script, or at least that's a big part of your agenda. I don't want it to be like, all right, wake up, okay, type it, can't jerk off, go back to bed, next day.
And I think if I remember correctly, for the note-taking aspect, we don't want, when you're daydreaming, we don't want you to just basically just start writing. So if it's a good idea, you're going to be forced to remember it. It's going to force you to just use your brain and kind of have a moment of stillness where it's like, I'm just letting my mind wander. And if I think of something I like, I'm going to have to really repeat it to myself like a mantra so I don't lose it. You can't write anything down during this period. You need at least 15 minutes to just be present in the moment.
And this is basically like if you guys ever had a crazy dream and you woke up and you immediately wrote it down or recorded like a voice note about it, which I did a week ago. I had such a funny dream. This is exactly the same thing. Can I talk about this dream real quick I had? This is a side tangent. I woke up like crying and laughing. I had a dream that I lived in like this really tall apartment building, like a skyscraper, and like 9/11 was happening every day. It was like a Groundhog Day type thing where just like every day a plane would fly into all these buildings around me, and everybody was like screaming, and they were the powers that be were like harnessing these screams like Monsters Inc. To just like keep us in a constant state of shock to like harvest our adrenochrome or something like that. And then one day I like broke the simulation and it was just Michelle Obama. I swear to God, I'm not being funny. This is my genuine dream.
Texted, by the way, this is like word verbatim what you texted.
Yes, I'm not lying. I'm not embellishing anything. And so I managed to like somehow break out like the Matrix, and I think I like strangled her to death. And then like the building started to fall apart, and then like I was in the basement of the building. It was like flooded and like full of rubble, and I found my cat Danny in there, and he was like all matted down, and I was able to like resuscitate him, and he was alive. And I was like, I finally beat the Obamas. I stopped 9/11, and I woke up and there were tears in my eyes because my baby boy like almost died. But I was like, what the fuck did I just witness? So I recorded like in my notes just a voice note, and I was like, and I like kind of crashed back to sleep for a second. And then I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm fine, I can go now. You
know what I think, Nick?
What?
I think that idea, if what you're describing were a film, that has some superficial action. It's going to definitely need sound effects. It's going to need to take place in an area that we're not in right now. I think that is your YOBme 25.
YOBme 25 number 1 is
Escape
Michelle Obama
9/11.
did 9/11. Oh, man.
Goated.
Awesome.
And you said you weren't going to share the idea.
I guess that's true. It's cat's out of the bag now.
Rule number 4, all sound effects must be recorded diegetically and produced for the film, not taken from an existing sound library. Diegetic sound is sound in a movie that takes place in the scene that could have been added later or recorded in the moment. Diegetic sound just means it's really happening, not something only the movie viewer gets to hear. By recorded diegetically, what we're saying is it's got to be done on the set. You can't ADR stuff. You can't add sound effects.
Yes. Like if somebody's phone rings, it has to be the ringtone on set.
Yes.
Or if you have like a gunshot, like Michael Mann has very realistic gunshots because he's using blanks or weapons that are, cleared. A lot of movies just use like a sound library of like, and it sounds not as realistic. A lot of the time it's fine. It's perfectly passable, but it always sounds better and it's more creative if you're recording it there.
Yes.
Because it's the same, you get like the same, it's the same location, so you're not choosing it from a computer where they recorded it in a different space than yours, and it's going to sound unrealistic.
And this is another like backing into it kind of rule where if you want to record footsteps and you didn't get them loud enough in the recording, you can add them later, but you're going to have to record them yourself in that space.
In the same place.
Which you're not going to want to have to go do, which means you're going to be really fucking focused on getting it right the first time.
Do everything right.
Many rules in this credo in the regards to the writing, the shooting, the editing, whatever. It is designed to force you to fucking lock in and actually do your best in the moment, getting the film in the can and not spending so long impotently reworking and retooling where again the film never gets finished because people are just constantly perfecting and then eventually abandoning the thing.
And this isn't an Ed Wood thing where he's like, cut, print, don't you want another one for protection? No, this is literally, you have to plan all these things out and be conscious about what you're doing. You can't be phoning it in.
Yes. This is going to make you really fucking think twice before you say action.
Yes.
Especially when you get to one of our rules later involved in terms of how many takes you get to do.
Rule number 5. Any non-diegetic music must be made for the film. If it existed beforehand, it cannot be used.
Original scores only.
Original score. And this is a thing of a lot of movies now don't really have a lot of music. So this isn't really something that's like too bad. Like I remember watching like I think it was like Sentimental Value recently, and there is music in the beginning, and it is non-diegetic. I don't know if it's made for the movie, but there's only like really a couple instances that I remember specifically. Yeah, if you had, because you have knowledge of music production, you made our intro and outro. So if you want any of that to be in the movie, it has to be something that you make.
You have to really, spend time and things like our intro and outro, which you might hear and go like, wow, did that take 5 minutes? I mean, I wish. It took a long time. It forces you. When we were in film school, everybody wanted to have music in their films, but no one knew how to make music. And I had the pleasure of doing the scores for a lot of our classmates' projects. And, it's unique. It's nice having to, if you want music, having to make it yourself, because if you're not a very good musician, you either got to find someone and they're going to give you something unique, or you're going to have to figure out how to, record your own score. And then you're going to be really selective about when you use music. The thing is, music is often used as a crutch to help move along scenes that really aren't working, or just make something scary because you have violins and scary music.
Have a needle drop.
But what you shot was shitty.
Yeah.
So this forces you to if I want something to be scary, I got to film it scary. If I want something to be moving, I have to act. I can't just rely on the actor kind of talking, mumbling, but then I put in this heartbreaking piece later. It's unless you can make that music yourself, you're going to have to rely on the power of the scene to work on its own. And you're going to be selective about where you use music.
Yes.
So rule number 6, visuals prioritized over sound. If a particular location is optimal for the staging of the scene, it must be used, even if the conditions aren't convenient for sound recording. I believe this was your idea?
Yes, so film is a visual medium. I believe that the most important thing is that the movie looks good. Mm-hmm. This doesn't mean that you have to not care about sound or anything. You should still record good sound. There are going to be limitations if you want to shoot in front of a waterfall or something. But most people, I would wager, see a movie because they want to see something amazing. They want to see beautiful colors. Mm-hmm. It needs to be visually stimulating first, and it needs to be what you want it to be. Because if you're just I do want to record in front of said waterfall, but I'm just not going to be able to record sound, then you have to work around that. And if you're recording sound on location, and the sound effects of said waterfall, it does make it more realistic that you're hearing the real sounds and it's not on a soundstage recorded later. this is why I wanted to do something like this.
And once again, forces you to fucking lock in and focus.
Yes.
What is the thing that actually matters? What matters is what's happening in this scene and the dramatic questions I'm raising. You know.
Number 7, permits will not be issued to the production. Yeah, I
love this rule.
it's getting a permit is already a headache.
Yes.
And honestly, as long as you're not just like being annoying in public or shooting in like Times Square where the cops are like, hey, what you doing over there with that camera?
Yeah.
Then you probably shouldn't have a problem. This will allow you to be more creative. Oh, force you to be more creative, really, because you have to shoot this almost guerrilla style.
Yes, and there are a lot of times where you get short films where they all take place inside in someone's apartment because we'll get in trouble if we go outside, whatever. Well, if you want to make something that doesn't suck and you want to go outside, you got to just fucking get over it. You got to go out there. It's also, by the way, really easy to shoot things in public because if you're not using like a cine camera, if the crew is really, it's a skeleton crew and you have a camcorder and someone holding some kind of a microphone, doesn't have to be a big boom arm. You could shoot all kinds of things in public all the time. People will just think you're shooting a YouTube video for your vlog. You can always lie, by the way. I was shocked. Curb Your Enthusiasm saved me so much because it just made me realize, because I was such a sheltered child, it makes you realize all these things where you're like, yeah, no one's going to verify. You can just say whatever. Guys, you can shoot a film out in public without a permit. You can just say, I'm a film student and this is whatever. I'm not selling this. This isn't for commercial. They're true. Not going to know.
And we're not lying, too, because we're going to be...
I mean, we literally are going to be doing it for... You can go out in public and just steal shots. And if someone confronts you, go find another location if you absolutely had to. But by the way, I've literally had police officers drive up to where I'm shooting something and then be like, hey, someone called and said you're filming whatever, what's going on out here? I was in film school and I said, yeah, I'm a film student. I'm trying to get a shot of a street light. I'm trying to learn how to use this camera. They say, okay, because it's not illegal to have a camera in public. No. You don't have to tell them the truth. You can just say, I'm filming. We're making like a fun video. We're making a class project. You can lie.
Yeah. And Werner Herzog in his masterclass is like, I teach them how to forge a film permit. And that's cool. But we're going to go one step further. Fuck it.
You can't even forge it.
You can't even forge it.
No permits.
No permits. Got to go balls out.
Yeah. Rule number 8, shots cannot be digitally reframed in post-production. What was captured within the frame lines is final. If you get a boom mic in the shot, sorry.
Should have done better. Should have looked through your fucking viewfinder, dude, and seen anything.
This rule is important to me because I've just seen so many times where people just didn't really film things very well, but they were like, well, we can always just keyframe it. Like everyone just kind of digitally zooms in and then reframes their shots later.
Lazy.
And you got to actually get it in the moment. You got to fucking hit it on the mark, be more selective with your shot sizes, and again, just lock in, pay attention to what you're doing. You can't fix it later. You cannot fix it in post.
Rule number 9. No more than 5 takes can be shot from any single camera setup.
My favorite rule in
this is one thing that I fucking hate hearing about, where it's like, yeah, as a director, he would do 60, 70 takes in a day, and then we do one for fun that I could do, and it's like, so you're wasting everybody's time by being a perfectionist? No, you need to lock it. You should have had this planned out already. I don't need you to deliver a line 60 different times. Yes. This will force you to be like, okay, this is the dialogue I want. This is the intonation that I want. And if you fuck up, you just have to film it a different way.
Yeah.
And don't be cheeky by lowering the tripod 1 centimeter. That's not what we mean. It's not what we mean. You know what we mean.
This is the honor system here.
Yeah.
You should want to try to follow this rule, by the way, because the spontaneity of the scene also, if you were rehearsing with an actor in a certain space, but now you're in the real space, you're in your costumes, it's like, okay, it's really real this time. There's a certain tension that exists within you, even if you're a trained actor, even if this isn't your first time acting for a camera or whatever. Even if it's like a nerve-wracking thing where it's like, I got to deliver a big monologue and we want to do this in one take. So if he fucks it up 4 times, we just can't do more than a fifth, those kinds of stakes. Yes, it does create pressure, but it is achievable. And it also forces you to be less of like a fucking one take queen with everything where it's like, oh, we need to have everything be like a tracking shot. Cause you have so many student films where it's either just in way too much coverage where we did endless takes from thousands of angles. And it's like, dude, get the fuck on with it. Or they tried to make Birdman, but then you do 19 takes because they keep fucking it up because you're not good enough to be doing that yet. So this will force you also, if you want to have something that's going to be impressive, how it's shot, a one or whatever, it's going to make you kind of simplify it in terms of what you're demanding from your actors if you don't have the most trained actors. And if you can only do 5 takes from any given setup, you're also going to you have an opportunity to do more setups, so you can get kind of more creative angles. So that'll help you in your editing if you didn't get the best stuff. But this will make you prioritize actually rehearsing with your actors. A lot of times on sets of like lower productions, there's no rehearsal. It's kind of like we just get the actors. People are afraid to talk to them. And then they say action and they deliver bad performances and no one's willing to direct it. And it's like, this is going to force you to get out of your comfort zone and like really actually like, no, I am the boss. Here's how you're going to be saying your lines here. You know, yes. we're not doing a Woody Allen movie here where any take was fine and maybe it'll be great, maybe it'll be dog shit.
Yeah, and if you're going to be shooting this guerrilla style out in public, you do not want to do more than 5 takes.
But if you do, lower the tripod 1 inch. That was Nick's suggestion.
No, and hey guys, if you cheat these rules, you're not cheating us, you're cheating yourself.
You are cheating yourself, and you're not going to get the certificate.
No.
Rule number 10, any stylistic gimmick used in the film must be an original idea by the director. It cannot, to the director's knowledge, have been done before. So it must at least be unique as far as they know.
Yeah, like you can't do the vertigo shot from Jaws. That's what it's called, right? I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's been nicknamed the vertigo. It's a reverse zoom while you're dollying in. I don't know what that's called, but it creates the effect of like everything's moving, but nothing's moving.
Yes. Yeah. So you can't use that because everybody knows what that is. You have to do something unique. That is up to you. This is dealer's choice here. Yeah. It just has to be something that beyond any conceivable thing that you haven't seen before. If you accidentally, lift something from like some Indian movie that like we haven't seen over here and somebody points it out later, it has to be to your knowledge, not done before.
Yes. There's a great thing also because as soon as you realize that you're ripping something off, it forces you to change it. You're going to have to come up with new ways of shooting things.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of visual cliches. One of my favorite shots of all time is from the movie Traffic, directed by Soderbergh. And I think this shot is part of why he won the Oscar. There's a shot in the movie that's of a helicopter landing. And it's kind of like The Brutalist, where it's at kind of the helicopter's above the camera at first. So no matter where the camera is oriented, it kind of looks normal. But then as the chopper is landing and the camera's panning with it, you realize the camera's panning upside down. And you're looking at it, and it's a very disorienting shot. It's very unique. And if I were filming some kind of scene where there was something kind of fucked up that happened, and then I'm filming someone arriving somewhere after, I might think to steal that. But as soon as I become conscious of it, I know I can't do that. But now my brain is wondering, how do I film this and give that feeling? But I can't just steal Steven Soderbergh's idea, So it forces you to come up with something in the moment that might be, it's like the chandelier shot, might be kind of weird, but it'll be unique.
Rule number 11. Any scene depicting drug use or alcohol consumption must involve more than one character. So it's
again your idea.
It's so very cliche that some guy is like depressed at his house, like sitting, like drinking whiskey out of the glass with rocks in it, and then smoking like a cigarette. And it's like for every student film has like a guy waking up and then just like a gun and then a cigarette. And it's like you don't know how to smoke. I can tell that you're chiefing that hoe.
They're doing it. They're doing when Hank is talking to Bobby Hill and he's like, "Son, you don't do it. Why are you holding the cigarette like some European Nazi?"
Hold it with 2 fingers, boy. Yes, exactly. This is just so cheesy and it's so cliche, and it's a pretty honestly simple rule to follow. Because it's a lot of the time unnecessary to just have somebody drinking for the sake of that. It makes more sense to have people meeting up to have a drink or sitting outside sharing a schmag together.
It's just a cliche. It's a tired cliche. It is a real thing. People do drink alone and smoke alone or use drugs or whatever, but this will force you to create social situations. If you want alcohol consumed, it's got to be a party scene or something, and you're going to create something new that we haven't seen 1,000 times.
And also, if somebody is like sitting alone and they're depressed or something, it's actually a lot more interesting if they're not smoking or doing drugs.
Yes.
Like we just watched Audition last night, and there's a scene where the main girl, Asami, she's just sitting in her apartment, like on her knees, neck bent down, like vertebrae poking out of her neck. That's way more interesting than her just like smoking a cigarette.
And looking evil.
And the context is different, but that is immediately, Caleb saw that and went, ugh. Yes. So it had a visceral reaction.
Exactly. And it was unique and it's going to live with me forever. I'm never going to forget that, but if she was just smoking a cigarette and be like, I'm waiting for the evil phone call.
The evil phone call.
Yeah. Rule number 12, final rule. The total runtime of the finished film, including credits, cannot exceed 120 minutes.
Cut that shit down. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not against movies that go over 2 hours, but I mean, honestly, Yeah, you can tell a good story in under 2 hours.
I think we're just fighting against self-indulgent kind of thing where, I mean, almost everything that's made now could be shorter. And if you can't tell with the kind of stories you can tell with these rules, it's going to be like mumblecore-y kind of indie stuff for the most part. And so, like if you're making an Older Brother Credo story, you don't have funding probably. And so any story you're telling, if you can't get in and out in 2 hours, what are you really doing? You shouldn't be, this is not a historical epic time. This is not making like the really, really long, I don't know why every action movie is 3 hours long now. With,
yes.
It Chapter 2, which is basically an action movie in my view. But brevity is the soul of wit. So get in and out in under 2 hours, just like this podcast episode. We did it in under 2.
That is true. Yeah. Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Older Brother Credo. We implore anybody listening to this to genuinely try to make a movie following these rules.
Yeah.
We will post these somewhere, probably on our social medias, showing all the rules so that you don't forget them. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we are Your Older Brothers Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. On Twitter, we are You Are Older Brothers. If you'd like to email us, and if you're interested in making any of these movies, YOBme or Older Brother Credo, email us at yourolderbrothers@gmail.com.
We'll give you updates on the status of our films as we're making them on this podcast, and then maybe also if you do email, if you're curious or whatever, maybe we'll send you a behind the scenes photo.
And we'll probably post updates on our Patreon because we have a wall there.
Oh yeah.
So if you would like to stay current or subscribe for more episodes, it is patreon.com/yourolderbrothers, only $5 a month minimum. But if you would like to fund us more and give us more money so we can produce some of these, because all the money from this does go into the podcast, genuinely.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. Older Brothers out.